So you've decided to homeschool. The big question that you might have now is, what do I do? Well, step number one, before you do anything else, is to pray. Pray over your homeschool year, pray over your kids, pray over this decision. This is such an important decision that you have made as a family, is to homeschool your children, and it needs every ounce of God's strength and power to get you through these homeschool years, because it is a vital part of who your kids are going to be. So cover your homeschool year in prayer. The next thing I would do is come up with the why behind your homeschooling. Why are you doing this? I'm sure there are a lot of reasons that factor into your why, so come up with a mission statement or a vision for why you're homeschooling. This will be really important when things are hard, because then you'll go back to that and say, this is why I'm doing this. And I won't grow weary, as the Bible says in Galatians, because I'm doing good. And even though it is hard, this is why I'm doing this. So come up with your why. The next thing I would caution you against, in this case, is to not try to copy a traditional school setting in the walls of your homeschool. Homeschooling has so much more freedom than in a traditional school setting, and just be free to learn with your kids how it works best for your family. For some families, it'll be going on field trips all the time, and some it'll be playing board games all the time, and some it will be to do lots of arts and crafts, and for others it'll be doing lots of fun writing or going on really cool trips. Whatever the case is, let your homeschool, your personality as a family, the way your kids learn, the way you teach, let that determine how you homeschool and what that looks like, not what you grew up with, not what you think school should look like by a traditional school mindset. Have fun with this. Make it your own, because every homeschool is going to look different than the next. And that's one of the beauties in homeschooling, is that you can make it fit your family's needs, and it's just super cool.
Hey, are you just getting started homeschooling? My top tip for you is to plan, prep, and schedule in pencil. If you do that, you have ways to adjust. Remember, homeschooling is a learning curve. We all have to get in the groove of the season that we're in. So make sure that while you plan and schedule how you want your day to go and how the days are going to fluctuate, know that it is not set in stone. It can be adjusted, and you need to learn to get into your groove to make sure it works best for you.
As I prepare for the next school year during the summer, one of my favorite things to do is to sit with the courses that we're going to use for the next school year and to go through the front section of each book. Each one is full of hidden treasures, helpful tips, how to use this course, notes to the parents, notes from the authors. Here's one. It's our goal to come alongside you, the parent, to give you the tools to raise a godly generation of world changers who share the good news of the gospel with their generation and impact generations to come. That's in language lessons here. I'm so encouraged every time I read the front section of each book, and sometimes I'll refer back to it during the school year. But this summer, as you're preparing for the new school year, I encourage you to take some time, read the front pages of the book, and get familiar with the course. I think you're going to find some really special truths there that you can use throughout the school year.
Hi guys, my name is Caitlin, and my top tip for getting started in homeschooling is to know your why. Know your reason why you want to homeschool. Know your goals. Sit down with your spouse and list out your goals together. What do you want to see as a result of what God will do in your homeschool? Take the time to write those down and dream together. I also encourage you to remember, this is your homeschool. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. This is your family. Your family is unique. Your children are unique, and your homeschool will reflect that. And so you may get the opinions of others freely shared, but just remember your why. Remember why you're doing this, and that you are doing a mighty work for the Lord and in the lives of your family. And I just encourage you, you will just be amazed to see what God will do.
Hello, welcome to session 3, getting started with master books. The last session, we talked about getting started with homeschooling just overall. And then in this session, we'll focus on just getting started with Masterbooks. So once again, I'm Rachel Smith. I work with customer service here at Masterbooks, homeschool mom of 4, and then also a homeschool coach with Masterbooks. So I'm looking forward to talking with you now about our curriculum particularly and how you can begin as a homeschool family with Masterbooks and what you need to do to get started. One of the things that is amazing about Masterbooks to me personally is our approach to the curriculum. We had a session earlier that went into detail about the Masterbooks method and the thought process behind all of our courses in Masterbooks, but it's definitely important to point out that a big difference you're going to notice possibly from other curriculum to Masterbooks is how ours gives it that developmentally appropriate approach at each level. We're trying to meet the whole student and all of their needs, from academics to their physical development at that time, and to give them what is appropriate for their developmental level with each one of our courses. So you will notice too that with our courses, it might not necessarily have a grade number. It's going to have a level number there from level 1 to up to 12th grade, really. So you will notice that with our books. So it's important to point that out as you are considering each of our courses and comparing to other courses. Something else to look at with Masterbooks when you first get started is our scope and sequence. Our scope and sequence can be a great tool for you to look at all of our courses, everything we have to offer. The scope and sequence can be found when you go to our main masterbooks.com website and you just are on that main home page. When you scroll down to the very bottom, you're going to see that About Us information. And right there under About Us, you'll see a tab for scope and sequence. When you pull open that scope and sequence tab, and I'm going to look at it right now myself as I'm talking to you, so I make sure I point everything out. So with that, you're going to see multiple columns. That first column is going to have a product image, and so you see exactly what that book looks like, and then you're going to be told what level it is, an age range. Again, we're approaching it from that developmental approach, so we give you an age range that level could be used for your student and where they are developmentally. And then it's going to tell you the topics that are going to be covered in that level, the focus of that level, the skills. Again, bringing back in that Masterbooks method and the importance of that developmental approach to academics. So you're able to look at what the focus of the book is, what developmental skills will be included in the book, and that will all be listed there for you in bullet points. And then any suggested video enrichment that we might have for those courses, because we do have our Masterbooks Academy. And with that, those are video lessons that would be supplemental and optional to our textbook curriculum. But our scope and sequence will let you know if we have video lessons for the particular course that you're looking at. Then also it will tell you any suggested supplemental resources that we may have for that course, suggested supplements, suggested readers. If you're looking at a course that's in the high school level, it'll tell you how many credits that we suggest for the course. And again, in our last session, we talked about beginning high school credits and keeping a transcript. So this scope and sequence will help you to see, okay, I'm considering this course. How many high school credits is this worth? All of that is clearly laid out in the scope and sequence. And then, of course, if you're not familiar and you're like, what's a scope and sequence? A scope and sequence with the curriculum is going to tell you what we have available for you in what order it would be presented to you for your student from the beginning to the end. So it'll cover it by each subject. This is math, and this is what we suggest from the beginning of your education through the end. This is the progression through math that you could have for your student. These are our options to progress through math for your student. And then the same thing with science, language arts, history, all of our subjects. You'll see that there in the scope and sequence. So the scope and sequence, again, gives you the progression, but an overview of what is covered in each book. If you need to, some states, we talked about state laws in our last session, some states do require that you turn in a scope and sequence to them. So this page is great to help you see what's covered. After you've checked out your state laws and you're told you have to cover these topics, the scope and sequence will let you know if those topics are covered in that course material. So wonderful resource for covering your state laws, also picking your courses, and then giving you a better understanding of the master books method and the developmental approach, so you can see what's covered in each one of those courses there. Then moving into our books in particular. Okay, so I've looked at the scope and sequence. I understand that this is developmentally appropriate, and now I want to buy some books. What do I do? And how do I understand what I need to buy? And where do I get started with your curriculum, master books? First place to begin is for our placement guide for math and language arts. These are a wonderful tool for you to make sure that you are giving your student the best start and the best foundation in math and language arts. A curriculum can be frustrating if you put a student in the incorrect academic level. If they are starting a level that is too low, they're going to be frustrated and bored and not challenged. And if they start in a level that's too high, you'll have a different type of frustration because they don't have the correct foundation that they need to be in that level. So our math placement guide is a readiness test for you to give to your student. And the math readiness test, what that means is they'll take this test, and the highest level that they pass is the level that they are ready to enter. So our math readiness test can be found when you go to that individual math tab on our website, and then you're in math lessons for living education, and you're looking at all of the levels for math lessons for living education. There's a tab there that's going to say get started math readiness test, and you'll just click it. It's a big orange button, I think. And then also in our FAQ questions, we also have links to these placement guides in our FAQ questions. So different places that you can find the placement test and the readiness test. Also, if you happen to already have like a math teaching companion, or you just don't want to find this test online, you want to have it physically, you don't want to print it out, our math teaching companion, the back of our math teaching companion has this math readiness test available for you right here. And it's in the back. So multiple ways to get the math readiness test. But I do recommend just going right online, accessing it. You can print it out right there. It's a PDF format that's easily printable, and have your student take the math readiness test. It's testing them on the things that they need to know in order to enter that math level. So if they pass level 4 of the math readiness test, they know everything they need to know. They've mastered the things they need to know in order to enter our level 4 math textbook. The things that are on that readiness test are not things that are going to be taught in level 4. There are things that were taught in previous years that the student should already know. Once they jump into the level 4, those things are not going to be fully explained again. Those are things that are assumed that your student has mastered. So they'll just have a brief little review of those things without all the instruction. So this is why it's very important to take the readiness test to make sure that your student has the foundation that they need in order to enter that level and avoid all of those frustrations that you would have. Then the same thing with our language arts. We have a language arts placement guide. So this is not a test for the student to take. This is a placement guide for you as the parent to look at and help you choose the correct academic level for your student. And again, think with all of this, with the readiness test and the placement guide, we're considering the whole child and our developmental approach to education, and how it's important not to just purchase and say, oh, well, you're going into this grade, so you're going into grade 6, so let's purchase everything level 6. Your student might need something different for math and language arts to get them into the proper academic level and where they are in their personal development. So with that placement guide for language arts, you will see, similar to our scope and sequence, a column that will tell you the title of the course and then the age grade range that we recommend the course. And it'll have, multiple ages that could use the course, different grade levels that could use the course. Then it's going to tell you what is covered it'll tell you first, actually, what your student needs to know, what your student should have already accomplished, what they should have mastered in order to enter that level of language arts. And then the last column will tell you what is covered in that level of language arts. The things that should have been mastered, a lot of that's going to weigh on your students' writing skills, what they're able to, in the younger years, the stamina they have to write sentences and be able to retell things to you. But, are they able to write one full sentence on their own? Do they have the stamina to write 3 full sentences on their own? And then as they get into the higher levels, it will talk more about, can they write a full and complete paragraph on their own? Can they write a complete essay on their own? Those things will, as they progress into the higher levels. So heavily weighed on their writing ability with the language arts placement guide, but a great place to start. Then, okay, so you've done that. So I've taken the math readiness test and I know which level my student is supposed to enter, or we've looked at the placement guide and I know which level I'm going to purchase for language arts. And so now I'm looking at your books and I see that some of your books have just one textbook. Some of them have a teacher's guide. What do I need? What am I purchasing? So that is a common question. So some of our books, like this is the math level 4. This is one textbook and everything you need for your student is included in the one textbook. So if you're looking at the website and you see this course only has one textbook, and that happens a lot in the elementary, the lower years especially, but throughout the elementary years and then with our language lesson series, things like that, everything you need is included in the one textbook. So let's take a look at that. This would be your math textbook. So in the front of this textbook is going to have, I'm going to make sure I get this on the camera for you well. It's going to have your course objectives, grading subjective assignments, give you some tips on the grading, supply list, help explain some of the manipulatives. So the front is going to have a lot of teacher information for you. And then it's going to have our daily schedule. In my last session about just getting started overall with homeschooling, we talked about scheduling and having a blank schedule and how you could use that from our cumulative record, but that each one of our courses has a daily suggested schedule. If you notice that at the top, it says suggested schedule for you to follow for your student through the school year. This right here is a tool that saves a lot of mamas. I know it helps me because it takes away the struggle of trying to schedule out your course, plan it for the year, makes it so easy. It makes our courses open and go because we have this right here for you. And it is just, week 1, day 1, it tells your student exactly what to read and exactly which pages to complete. You are able to, in the younger years, guide and use this to help you as you are working and teaching with your student. And then as they develop and they are able to read well independently, the student is able to look at this schedule, take ownership of their education, and start working independently. They know exactly what is to be done that day. So this suggested daily schedule is one of the things to me that makes our curriculum so easy to use and open and go. Plus, it's all included in this one book. I can just grab this one book and we can go to the park. We can go to a doctor's appointment. We can sit in the car as we're waiting on something, just whatever needs to be done. We're grabbing one book and we're able to go. So that's in the front. Then in the one book, you'll have all of the instruction and worksheets, all of the consumables, all instruction included within the textbook. More, okay? Then once you get to the back of our textbooks that are all inclusive, in the back of this happens to be math. So we have our manipulative information of what we are going to do with our manipulatives. Then we also have our answer keys in the back of the book. So this is what it looks like when it's an all-inclusive, everything in one textbook. Teacher information in the front, schedule in the front, instruction to the student, all consumables throughout the middle. Then the back will have teaching aids, manipulatives, more explanations for you as the teacher, then the answer key in the very back. So we'll talk about that in a little bit later. So you might be thinking, wait a minute, the answer key is right there in the back for my student. So we'll talk about that in a little bit and what I suggest doing with those answer keys. Okay, so that's what an all-inclusive book looks like for math. Then we also have the same thing with much of our language arts. So this is language 4, and then we have language 7. So again, language arts is one that levels 1 through 12, everything's going to be included within one book. And you might be thinking, how is that possible, especially once they get into those upper levels? So I wanted to show you that too. Once again, front of the book is going to have teacher information. This one here, this level 7 actually has a full scope and sequence for this particular book included, where you can see what's covered in every lesson for you as the parent and the teacher. Then it also is going to give you lots of teacher information of all the different concepts covered in the book, the different types of daily assignments that are given to help you understand the thought process behind that full course description for you as the teacher. I know that I personally was one of those moms who's bad about getting a book and skipping over the front information and just jumping right to the assignments. But it is very important that you read through this beginning information to help you as the parent know what's covered within the textbook and how things are done. Then it does have that daily schedule once again. And then we're moving into our instruction to the student and all of the consumable worksheets. Once again, in the back of language arts, something that I like that's a little bit different too than the math, we have a lot of back matter that's going to have all of the language arts rules, all the grammar rules, all the writing rules, any type of extra tips for how to include spelling into your week, bonus activities, all types of things. And then once again, the answer key. So that's what it looks like when it's an all-inclusive one book from the younger years, even to the older years. Then we have some of our courses that have 2 books. So this is a student book, and then this is a teacher's guide. Once we get to this type of a course, it's too much information to include in one big textbook. So we have it into 2. The student book is going to have all of your instruction for the student. All of the reading and all of the instruction for the student is included in the student book. Then the teacher's guide will have all of the things we talked about in the front of that individual textbook. It's going to have your full course description, how to use the course. Then it's going to include that wonderful daily schedule for your student. And all of your consumable worksheets that you would give to the student are in the teacher's guide. Then in the back of the teacher's guide, you're going to have, once again, all of your answer keys. So whether you're using one of our courses that has everything included in one book or everything included in 2 books, you are given all that you need for you and the student to complete that school year and to make it as easy and open and go as possible. Okay, so I told you I was going to talk to you about, you have these answer keys. They're included in the back of that student book. What is that? What are we doing? A suggestion, if you have a student that's going to realize all of those answer keys are back there, we suggest tearing out the answer keys from that one book. I have for myself, this is one of the ways I get organized, is I keep a mom binder. So I have a mom binder that has all of the answer keys that I've pulled out of the back of those textbooks. And right now I'm only schooling one, but even this is the same mom binder. It's been well used for years, and you can use any type of mom binder, and you can use a different system. This is just something that helped me. I kept a mom binder, and inside this mom binder, I had a tab for each one of my students. So as you can see, I have just this one student, but I had tabs like this, and I had the student name. And again, once again, this has been a well-used, well-loved binder. Then behind that, I have tabs for each of the courses that they're taking. So Bible, language, history, science, math, so there's more. And I put all the answer keys in here, and also kept quizzes, tests, things like that I needed to pull out, and I kept them in a mom binder. I did the same thing whether I was using one of the courses that are all inclusive and everything in one textbook, or one of the courses that had a teacher's guide and a student book. When it has the teacher's guide and the student book, I did the same thing with the teacher's guide. I tear out all of those answer keys in the back, put them in my mom binder, tear out quizzes and tests, put them in my mom binder, and then the student has that teacher's guide available to them with all of the worksheets, and they're not going to get all the answers as well. And again, that was my system that I like to use, but you might be a mom that wants to pull out the worksheets individually, do a folder system, do a drawer system. Master Books curriculum works wonderfully with all of those different systems that you might prefer to use. Something else to talk about with using our curriculum and grading. Many of our courses will have a suggested grading of how to grade the pages, but some of them don't, especially in those younger years. So on that schedule, as I showed you though, on that daily schedule, there's a space in there for you to put a grade. So I'll show it to you one more time right here. So daily schedule. You're going to put the date that that assignment is completed or that you're assigning it. Then there's a check mark that it's finished. And then there's this last column for grades. So if we had a daily worksheet that had 12 problems on it and the student got 10 of them correct, you could put in there 10 over 12. And then you can just do the division and give them a daily grade. And that's a way to keep up. And that's one of the suggestions we have for grading and keeping a daily grade. Definitely want to, again, check your state laws and see when you are required to keep grades, how you're required to keep grades. All of those things will play a role in how you do your grading. And when you start grading with Master Books, that we do make it where you could begin doing that in the younger years and just recording it right on that daily schedule and having that record for you. Then once you get into the high school, middle school, high school years, some of the pages, the quizzes, the tests, they're going to tell you exactly how many points each question is, each assignment. Our back matter that we talked about, the back matter in our textbooks there will have tips and tricks, and maybe they'll have just a guide for you, a template on how to grade, suggestions on how to grade. So definitely, once again, check out all of the information in the front of our books as well as the back for all those additional helps and tips to you as mom on how you should do your grading. Cannot end this session also without talking about our communities that we offer. One of the things with Master Books that was a huge perk for me when I first began using the curriculum was the community that was offered to me. At that time, we had just our Moms of Master Books Facebook group. And I found that group and found wonderful support there within that Facebook group. But now we also have our Moms of Masterbooks app. So it's just the Masterbooks app. And you can find it just in your app store. It's a free app, but we have wonderful support and help within our app and Facebook communities. You're going to be connected with thousands of other parents using Masterbooks curriculum, as well as trained homeschool coaches and encouragers and moms who have been using the curriculum for a while and know the curriculum and are able to get you the help. We also have several of our authors in there. So there will be times where you ask a question and you'll actually have the author comment and respond and answer your question. You have in there, we do live videos where we will answer your questions. You can submit your questions to us beforehand and we will answer your questions. We have a book club within there where you're able to read books and get encouragement with other moms. We have chit chat groups where we just talk about our favorite things. We share menu planning. So just a wonderful community and support for you as the homeschool family that connects you with other families, not only homeschooling, but also using the same curriculum that you are. If you have a day where you're just stumped on something and you can't get past it, you can jump into that app and ask in the groups. We have groups for each individual age and grade levels where you can come in there and ask those other moms that are right there doing the same things that you are. So to me, our Moms of Masterbooks Facebook group and our app community goes above and beyond what others have offered to give me as a homeschool mom support and connection to where I feel encouraged and that I'm not doing this alone and just to remind me and help me as I move throughout my day of homeschooling with Masterbooks. But lots of great help and support community included there for you as mom to help you continue on in your homeschool journey. Hope this has been a help to you in getting started and answering your questions. And again, if you have more questions, just jump right into that app or Masterbooks Facebook groups to get your questions answered.